Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Little Fawn. I am a harmonic architect. What does it mean? I'm going to be posting a video about what exactly that is, but effectively I hold a frequency that harmonizes wherever I go, whatever I do. I hold the higher octave frequency within that encourages and invites that to awaken and rise up in others, so that as a humanity collective consciousness, we can start to kind of weave together and play together in these beautiful progressions, and all these like complementary keys, if we were talking musically. So yeah, I do a lot of channeling, reflective tarot card reading, and quantum healing. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's kind of like I've said before on this channel, I'm Italian. Italians rarely follow a single recipe. We kind of outsource what's available to us, what inspires us, what is intriguing to us, and we're constantly cultivating new recipes that just kind of like live inside of us. It's intuitive. Even when I cook, I kind of like black out and let the ingredients tell me what to do. So that's kind of what I do with all of the tools that I've gathered throughout my own healing journey. Is I have all of this available to me, so I let them guide me. I let what emerges in the moment when I'm working with a client emerge and trust in it. And that's kind of a little bit about what this is about. So this month's Friday Night Light. I have to be very careful I don't South Jerseyize that. Friday Night Light, yo. It's the age of the guru is over. And this is a direct transcription from a channeling session that I actually recorded myself in those frequencies and just speaking them through me into a voice recording, a voice memo. Hindsight being 2020, next time I'll activate the dictation simultaneously with my voice memo, and that way I can try to catch some of it and go back. But I spent yesterday going back in and transcribing it word for word as it came through. So again, the higher frequency guides they're not concerned with sentence structure in the way that we are, grammar in the way that we are. They're interested in the intention behind the letters and the words that they choose, because they're creating frequencies, and they're creating these coherent unifications between and among the letters, and then the words, and then the phrases, and then the paragraphs. So it's more than just sitting down and writing in the sense that we write. So that's important to know going in. So this is a direct transcription of that recording. There was a point where they spoke about, because I think I channeled this mid-November, maybe before this, right at or before the Scorpio new moon. So they referenced Scorpio, and they allowed me to lift that sentence out, like the Scorpio season, so that this can remain a universal message, a timeless universal message, which they all are all the time anyway. But the understanding how the human brain works, it's like, oh, Scorpio season, well, that's not now. What's now? So it is now. It's just the now time of my catching it was underneath those frequencies. So I am going to probably on my Substack put up the recording itself for anybody who wants to like listen in that way. But this is from Guitara, who, for those of you who are new to my channel, she is like, she's here. She's my interface. She is the translator. She is that highest octave frequency of me, my own soul. And in that way, she distills anything that comes in, whether it's universal wisdom for the collective, or whether it's wisdom to be brought through for clients. She's able to be the one who interacts and who gathers and then distills it into language that both I can speak coherently, and also whoever it is for can receive it in that same coherence. So that's who she is. And she first presented as the Lyran goddess of truth and right of way, which is a mouthful. And she was a little elusive about like a name. And as I grew with her and she grew and we grew together, I realized it's because she is not in a physical form in the sense that we know it. So there is no need to name her. She simply is. But when I was thinking about Lyran, goddess of truth and right of way, I was thinking how, when I'm tracking for producing music in Ableton, I'm very froggy. When I was tracking, whenever I do guitars, I just put GTR. And I was like, oh, goddess, truth, right, GTR, oh, guitara. And I felt this little, this ping of like, oh, I like that. So that's kind of become her name, her frequency calling card. And as one thing that she wanted me to offer up in this little prologue-y bit here is that when you're working with your own guides, even if you're not like a channeler in that sense, but we all have like another, the conversations with ourselves, our higher selves, like we're having these talks or whatever, but we're all evolving. Even the higher frequency beings and energies and entities, we're all in a state of constant evolution. So to need them to be exactly as they are when they first introduce themselves, or your awareness first opens up to them, is to keep both of you in this kind of state of stagnancy. They evolve, we evolve, and if we're lucky, we get to do it together in this like tandem co-creative spiral. Have you seen me swatting? I'm not a crazy person. I brought my indoor plants. I brought my outdoor plants indoor, and we repotted them, and we were like, yay, they're so happy, they have fresh soil, they'll be able to like winter inside and be happier. And the soil had gnats in it, and we thought that we had gotten rid of them, and we were all exhaling, and now they're back with a vengeance. So if you see me swatting at nothing, it's not nothing. I had a student a voice student who's 12, and she was like, you should, instead of like apple cider vinegar and dish soap, you should put out colorful things of like resin and then catch them, and then they'd harden, and then you would have this whole art collection of these, like, it would just be, you could call it like RIP. And I was like, that's actually genius and sad and genius all at once. So anyway, sidetracked. Yes, so we grow together. So when you're working with your guides, when you're in communication with them in your meditations, if something shifts, allow it to shift. And sometimes they don't all stay for the whole ride. They pop in for what's necessary. And if you feel like, oh, I haven't felt this around me, it's likely because you've evolved away from that frequency as being like a forefront frequency. I have a couple of guides that were with me very strongly since, like, I want to say 2014-ish, and I've not been feeling them around as much lately, but it's because I don't need them in the way that they first presented. And so I checked in and was able to tap in to, if it was time to just set the intention that, I'm setting them free and myself free, and if we circle back, cool. Or if there was an alchemization, if there was a spiraling up, which there was, which was cool. So pay attention to those. And I say all of that to say that Guitara, her energy first presented very much as Lyran. But the more I worked with her spiral up was very quick inside of our first kind of connection. And so now she sits kind of above my crown. And it's it's like a council, but also not a council. So it's Guitara and the Arctura. And the Arctura is a ring, and they're all frequencies. And it's just that if it was like an actual ring, like around your finger, um, she would be this. And there would be others around it that maybe were for somebody else. Maybe this little council spins and turns and moves, and for somebody else, their gem is here. Their guitar or whoever that is theirs. But for me, she is here. But it's like there's a ring of unification there, of multiple tones and multiple facets, like a multi-tonal frequency spectrum that has a lot of beautiful overtones kind of weaving through it. So that's how she presents now, and that is who this message is from. So now that we have all of that, what they have guided me to do is, usually I read a little, we chat a little, we read a little, I chat a little. They would like me to read it straight through, and in this way you can close your eyes and just let everything kind of wash over you. Let the frequencies land. Even if you don't understand everything, try to take yourself and put yourself into a place, and you can pause the video here. To do that, try to breathe into your heart center and just settle in, like open. When I do meditations at the beginning of sessions, I usually have my clients kind of open up your crown like an observatory dome. Like if you went somewhere to look at the stars and the whole ceiling just like opened up so that you could see that brilliant 360 panoramic view. And then once that is open, you're both lifting your consciousness up and then dropping as deeply into that heart intelligence as you can. And from that place is where it would be best to receive this. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and I'm just going to read it straight through. We'll see where we land, and then I'll try to do at the end, maybe what we'll do is do like a zip file, like a distillation into like a few key points that you can carry with you, and then it'll unzip itself as needed. So make yourselves cozy. And we are off as I kick the camera. So the age of the guru is over. The age of the guru is ending. It is very important that you all learn to step inside of your own sovereignty and begin accessing your own mastery from within this still point of truth. There are many different reality matrices and timelines, all flowing, all running side by side, zigzagging from one to another, bumping up against each other. Some are becoming entangled. These are the timelines that were part of the shift that occurred in 2020 within your global pandemic. And the image that may be helpful for you to see this more clearly is if a giant rock was dropped onto a wide glass pane that is a thick, sturdy pane, but the weight of that rock creates a center point of fracture. And then from that fracture, many tributaries and paths break off. And from those, more tributaries and paths break off. So what that did was to set your planet on a trajectory of deep and massive change. Change, as you all are very well aware of at this time, is messy. So it will be important for you not to judge what is spilling out. What is important for you is to choose what is for you. And for many of you, it will be to lift up and out of the fracture altogether. There are many ways in which you can do this. Some will choose to leave the planet and leave the earth plane, move back into the etheric realm, into their soul consciousness form, in order that they may choose a new blueprint from which to operate as they move back into this earth plane at the higher octave frequency. So the vessel will no longer hide, and the vessel will no longer hold discordant and dissonant frequencies that are not in alignment with this new upward spiral trajectory. And so for those who leave, know that they do not die in that sense, but they are immediately reborn as their source point frequency of pure unconditional love. And they will be able to radiate this love back through and into all planes of existence, and it will effectively bring more light into the earth plane as she continues to lift and rise and restructure and recalibrate. And so there are others who will continue to play out narratives, adventures, timeline trajectories from within this fracture point, and that is also their choice to make. But know that you have a choice not only to break off from the fracture, from those fissured tributary lines that are still connected, ultimately to the root of that initial shattering, but you do get to leave the template altogether. And you do not need to physically die in order to do so. You simply need to step into your own soul mastery. And the only way to do this is to quiet the noise in whatever way is good for you. It doesn't always have to be that you sit and meditate. We know that this is not an easy access point for many within this very noisy, buzz-filled world that you are all navigating through at this time of dismantling and restructuring. So while we do recommend very much being still and going within, there are many ways in which this can happen. Anything that takes you out of the mind and drops you down into the heart center, down into the belly, into the heart of your soul intelligence, things tend to get stuck in the mind. And the mind is a part of that old entangled fracture. This is where everything gets stuck. This is where everything stops up like a drain that is clogged. And you must go in and pull out all of the debris, all of the remnants, all of the hair, all of the threads that are blocking up the clear channel that each one of you is, so that your own soul wisdom, direct from your fractalization point at source, your source point frequency, can drop clearly in and settle into your heart space, into your gut, into that wide open, soft, powerful, and intelligent space that is within you. And so when you do this, you begin to give yourself access to all that was gained in all soul experiences. So anything that allows you to proactively engage an imagination that shifts into soul truth story that can loop that wisdom back to you, this is what this time period is for you now. This time period for you now is to not only review what is in front of you, but it is inside of the energies at play. There are many planets within your solar system still in that illusory retrograde phase, and this is to cast shadow so that you may learn to sink into your own shadow without fear, without shame, without regret, without pushing away or stamping down. This only creates more fracture. It only creates more of those lower frequency timelines. This is for you to look at everything inside of you, because it is what is inside of you that is creating what is outside of you. And the collective reality matrix is created by the shared collective perceptory lenses that you all have in working and living and growing inside of your communities, in your soul groups. You create clusters of these frequencies that then fatten and strengthen them. So this is why it seems daunting to have to change something bigger than you, when in fact it is all you. And all you need to do is opt out of what does not resonate, what does not work, what does not feel good, and opt into what you want to create. What is your truth? And if you do not know your truth, that is okay. The only thing you need to know is that you are love. So what does love do? Love is like water. Love is soft and powerful. It can softly curve around and bend. It can nourish or it can destroy. It has great power. But it is up to how all of the elements come together that direct this force. And this water, which could be likened to your emotional body, the emotional body of the planet, which is why you see all of the weather patterns happening across the globe in extremes, because everything has been worked up to a point of high contrast so that you can no longer ignore what is in front of you. It is now too clean, too clear, too in its power and in its truth. And it is this way so that you may finally discern your truth with those very clear poles as the duality game is dissolving. This is what we mean when we say the age of the guru is over. The age of the external source of your enlightenment is over. The age of anything outside of you being the thing that gets you to this point that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get to on your own. This is now moving into false resonance. And it will keep you on tween timelines, which ultimately will collapse on themselves. So it is very important that you understand that anything that may be used as a tool in order to awaken and to open and to lift is very valuable in the sense that it is the tool. Whether it is a teacher, whether it is a substance, whether it is a particular path of study, whatever this is that is your gateway into yourself, there is a time when you must set it all down. Lean into the place that it opened up for you, and then elevate for yourself from within yourself and become that medicine. There is no more space in these higher octave frequency reality matrices that are opening up for false resonance. And as you discover this within yourselves and move into new clusters of brilliant light and soft essence flow, you are creating new fattened frequencies that will act as a beacon for others to engage with curiosity and to allow for a soft beckoning into truth in resonance by choice, not by force. So anyone on your planet at this time who is saying that they have the answers, that their way is the way, these are all entities and energies who are still locked in the duality game and trapped within a shadow and fear matrix. And there can be resonance points in both shadow and light. It is up to you now at this time to pick the diamonds from these rocks and gather them into liquid light and form your own blueprint and matrix of truth in being. And this is the embodiment that will open the door to your reality shift. And this must come from a great place of high integrity and complete sovereignty. And we do not say sovereignty as a sense of isolation or do it all on your ownness, for you are meant to move even deeper into community, not just within your workplaces, your towns, your states, your countries, but globally. You are meant to move into a state of global community as you open into your galactic placement within your localized universal alignment. And so in order to take your seat at that table, each one of you must come to it on your own and cultivate it in truth, courageously, truthfully, softly, and rooted in love and integrity. And then in this way, by your simple being, you encourage others who will feel so good around you, for you are in this state of acceptance. We have said this before, all truths are real, all truths are valid at this time. It does not mean that they are right for you at your frequency state, but it does mean that it is for others to experience. And no one can take that away from anyone, just as you would not want anyone to take your truth away from you. It is yours to expand and unfold and elevate and shift as you grow and expand and elevate and shift. And it gets more crystallized and more clarified. That ping of resonance, the ping that returns you to source while still embodied. And in this way, you are able to collaborate and create simply with your breath wave of intention. And in order to be in this place, you must be in this state of acceptance, be in this state of integrity, be in this state of pure, unconditional love. For when you are vibrating at such high frequencies, your manifestation will be instant. And until you can move into sovereignty and move into integrity and move into your own soul truth from that source point frequency of pure, unconditional love, you will remain looped through these lower frequency timelines, and they will get increasingly more uncomfortable as you try to lift and shift out of them, until you finally see the contrast so clearly that you choose you. And we do not speak of this, for we know that there can be a selfishness frequency or tone that can carry within your world, within your universe, within your state of being. But this is not what we speak of. You choose you, knowing that it is a result of you choosing the collective you. When you work from inside the framework of the highest and best good of all, you are included in that. And the only way to attain it in an ascension and oneness capacity is to continue to collapse that which no longer serves your own highest and best good from that frequency of pure, unconditional love. And when you can begin to do that and continue to collapse, that frequency of love fattens, and you are able to attract more that resonates with it, that harmonizes in brilliance as a reflection of your own inner brilliance. And with each timeline that you collapse and each reality matrix that folds in upon itself and dissolves back into source, letting all of the mastery and all of the wisdom settle down within your now elevated being like little dusts of gold and silver, this mastery that then weaves into the very fabric and fiber of your breath and being in full remembrance, and not in a way that you remember all things at all times, but where you have access to all things at the right time. So trust in that. Everything that you have experienced on a soul level and all of the mastery, all of the wisdom that you have gained, it is coming online. But you do not need to overload your system now and open all of those files at once just to simply see and categorize and name and know. It is enough to know on a soul level, on a vibratory level, that this exists within you. And when you do so, whatever path you weave for yourself, whatever is necessary, whatever is needed, whatever is called for at that time will come through you and reveal itself in beautiful ways, unexpected ways, collaborative ways. For you are meant to, as we have said, become a more collaborative planet as a whole. But it starts with this collaboration within as we return to the original message, which is the age of the guru is over. So be mindful when you are consuming your news, your wisdom offerings, the information. You live in an age where everything is available all the time. But again, like that mastery coming online within you, it is not going to be beneficial to have every channel open at all time. And if you are watching something and in your body what you are hearing, seeing, feeling does not feel good and does not make a harmonic that adds to the lush tones of the chord progression of your being, then opt out. Tune out. Tune into that which supports your vibratory tone, that which moves effortlessly within the progressions that you are creating for yourself, within yourself, as your truth in divinity embodied. And so be very mindful, because attention, and it has been said before by others on your planets, on various platforms, attention and authenticity are two of the greatest currencies you possess. So wield them well. Stand in that truth. Be as you know how to be, in crystallized clarity, whatever that is. We are not speaking of perfection. We are speaking of authenticity, your truth in the moment, knowing that you have an observer, you have that awareness, where if you find yourself in tricky states, you are able to simultaneously observe and experience. And so you can close the gap a little softer, a little sooner, when you begin that initial co-creation within your own higher self. You as your guru. And your attention, energy follows your attention into form. So be mindful of where you are placing your attention. For where that attention goes, there's a magnification and a magnetization that happens simultaneously. So be very sure that what you are pulling in through your sensory perception, whether you're watching, listening, smelling, tasting, whatever it is, make sure that what you are pulling in is something that nourishes, something that you wish to have magnified, to act as a magnet for similar such exchanges and experiences and expressions. And so this is what we have to offer for you today. We hope that you find it helpful. We hope that it lands with a soft harmonic ping within your now chord of being. And may you lean into your authenticity. May you pay attention to what this feels like, so that you can continue to elevate up your own soft ascension spiral into your innate wholeness and brilliance as both an experience and expression of your divine being. We leave you now in love, for you are love. And once again, that was from Guitara and The Arctura, transcribed from a live voice channeling session. So yeah, there's a lot there. It's very dense. But also Guitara, I find more so than any of my other guides, she can land it a little more practically applicable. Like, I feel like she gives things in indigestible chunks. It's dense, but it's the encoding is a little bit it's a little bit lifted, with an overtone that really like has a yummy resonance with whatever your now frequency is as you listen to it, so that you can get those pings. And even if your brain hasn't fully wrapped itself around everything, you're able to have this like heart intelligence comprehension of it. Like, again, how Guitara didn't need a name, because she is an I am, and that's enough. When you're digesting higher frequency encoding and tones and words and concepts, if you take it as an I am and not need to define it beyond that, you'll find that it can land and integrate and begin to emerge as, like they were talking about, that mastery that shows up in exactly the right time and exactly the right way, simply because you allowed it in. You allowed it to land without needing to know what it was, where it was, how it worked. And that can be tricky for a lot of people. Part of the fun of being human is that kind of naming and categorizing and learning and yeah, and as we lift into this, as they call it, this kind of new Eden, new Lemuria, this new reality matrix that is ultimately rooted in love. With that love comes this acceptance, because as we each move into it, we move into it at our higher octave truth. These guys are trying to really test me today. they're most active during the day. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit the hardware store and get some more hydrogen peroxide, I think. Anyway, so that is the message. And again, I feel like the main essence of it is, I'm not necessarily going to go back through it point by point by point. I don't think we need that at this stage for me to like be an authority for you on what this means for you. But what I can offer is listen to it. And again, I'm going to put I'll leave a link to my Substack once I post this. These should drop on the same day. So I'll post a link to it. And then if you want to like listen to it in headphones or whatever, I'll have the OG voice memo. Or you can just do it here in the section where I just read it through. But the actual channeled version is quite lovely. As I was listening to it back, I was like, oh. Sometimes, and I'll say this too for any of you who, we're all coming online. Anybody who is newly channeling, even people who have been doing it for a while, like if anyone says that they are 100% sure, rock solid, in it, in discerning what is it, what is them, like it's a subtlety game. It's a game of nuance. And so a lot of times when you are channeling, especially if you're new to it, so this is for you guys, sometimes you think that you're making stuff up. And active imagination is kind of the gateway into dropping into and learning how to listen for, hear, and discern your own higher wisdom. The imagination, it sparks that sense of play, and that sense of play sparks curiosity. And then curiosity is something that is more easy to lean in, other than like, boom, there's like a voice inside me. And for me, this has always been very subtle, very nuanced. I can feel the energy shift, but because, and this is what happens for me, so I'm going to leave this here, and you can let me know in the comments if any of you experience this. Sometimes when you're in it, you're thinking to yourself, even though you're kind of like off to the side so that this can flow through, you're observing. And it's a good way to kind of practice being both simultaneously observer and experiencer. You're thinking, well, this is so simple and like basic, like this has to be just me talking, like, am I a fraud? You know, the imposter syndrome is very real. I feel like in a big way for anybody in the creative community, the healing arts, the arts in general. It's like, because we're so open and because we're always trying something new and leaning into things with curiosity, sometimes you're like, what am I doing? What is this? Is this real? I don't know. If it's real for you, it's real. So trust it. And also, every time I listen back, I'm like, oh, dude, you think you're getting everything, but you're not. You're in a little observer state. You're doing something else, and you're allowing this to come through. And so when you listen back, or if it's automatic writing and you read it back, a lot of times it'll be like, it's like your now consciousness goes into the quantum gap in order that the higher consciousness can replace it. It's less about something taking over. I feel like that's a very antiquated way, and I think it's because frequencies, the gap between frequencies was so much greater, and now as we're rising up and lifting, that gap is closing a little bit. We have more access. So it isn't about like, it's not about you not being present or not being you in the moment. It's about you having a conversation and stepping aside so that that conversation can flow through you. Because if we take it back to no matter how you believe, you know, everything started, whether it's Adam and Eve, Big Bang, you know, evolution from apes, like whatever it is, it's all right, it's all wrong, it's all of a truth for a frequency band of existence. But with the Big Bang, it's like, here's this big thing, and then explosion. And it's not like it sends out one little rock at a time. It's like, whoosh, it's all at once. It's everything, everywhere, all at once. So all of this exists simultaneously. And when you think about it that way, again, like she says in here, you don't need access to it all the time. That would be way, way, way too much for the human brain to process. The neurological system would just like fry. It's too much. We're still embodied. We're not just consciousness that can be everywhere all at once. We're rooted in, and we're meant to be rooted in. But what we can do is start to understand that if it is all here, if it went out, it's just a matter of tuning in, because ultimately your soul, like we come from source. That's the first expansion, extension, exploration through curiosity. And then from that, from like the larger chunks, there are more and more, kind of like they mentioned with the shattering that occurred inside the energy underneath, the catalyst that was for and resulted in the pandemic. It's like that rock drops, the glass shatters, and there's a big shatter, and there's bigger, like slightly smaller ones, and it kind of like spider webs out. So on a higher level that exists, so like your soul has a place where it is more collapsed in and closer to source. And all you need to do to access it is to tune in. And so if you want to, I always recommend I started out as future self journaling, and now I choose a frequency like 5D self journaling, or the self who is experiencing, or like choose the frequency you actually want to tap into, so that you can open that channel for those gifts, that wisdom to come through. So that's all channeling effectively is. It's usually, most channelers will say, it is a version. It's whatever this bigger chunk is that kind of sent a bunch of stuff down, and like now me is one of those things. So effectively, in order for us to move to these higher, people call it 5D, New Earth, whatever you want to call it, the higher octave frequency spectrum that's available, that's opening up, we have to begin collapsing in. And so you fatten the frequency that you want to rise, and you kind of clear out what isn't supporting that, so that you're not in this state of stasis or looping anymore. But when you channel, you're just tuning in ahead of time to that, and so you're still you, and you're this you, and so there's an exchange there that happens. So if any of you, it's my long-winded way of saying, if anybody feels a little bit impostery about it, don't, because it feels familiar for a reason, and it's okay. And I guarantee you, when you go back and you listen and you go back and you read, you're going to look at stuff and wonder where it came from. It came from the other frequency point. It's like putting two things on your battery so you can charge it up again. It's like one's here and one's here, and then there's the spark that ignites. So yeah, play around with it, because ultimately it's very disempowering to need, and I joke a lot that I'm an Aries, right? So I don't typically ask for permission. I'd rather, ask for forgiveness. And I've, evolved a little in kind of, the brashness of that. But we don't need permission to be our true selves. We don't have to wait for it to exist somewhere else, because like I mentioned, I think might have been in the December reflective tarot energy forecast I just did, where we're going, there's no data for it. There's nothing that supports it. So it's tricky to lean in from a mental state, which is why we really are meant to kind of open to elevate, and then drop into like our soul intelligence, which is like a little more deeply embedded. And when that's running the show, we're able to move from a place that supports our truth. We're able to have access to more wisdom. We've all experienced everything. We've all been both sides of every coin and all of the facets in between when the coin, pops into a more expanded sphere of itself. So the more we can have compassion for ourselves inside of all of those experiences, the more that compassion can reflect out. And again, they don't say like, you're not accepting it as your own now, but everybody's in different places. The cool thing is that for the most part, this is a time, and everybody is calling it such an amazing time because it is a time where the collective is collectively rising. There are various frequency bands, but like when you make a chord, you can have 3 notes, you can have just an octave, you can have just thirds. Like the chord can have a lot of notes in it or not a lot of notes in it. It doesn't matter. We're just refining the chord. So right now there might be a lot of like suspension or dissonance that's learning how to resolve out, but eventually it's going to move into a very beautiful open chord. And that chord isn't just going to be like a homeostasis that we know. It's going to actually move all of those suspensions and all of that dissonance. It's going to take it and it's going to allow the modulation that's actually going to support the landing into it's like a whole new key. It's like when you hear all of those epic 80s songs from like movies like The Karate Kid or whatever. David Foster is like notorious for it, where there's the big modulation. It's like, here's the big note in the chorus in the center, and then it like changes and it lifts and opens into another key. That's what we're doing as a collective. So trust in that, and wherever your note is in that, lean into both sides and feel it out. Feel where the dissonance supports that kind of like soft little leap. And just know that like the more time you kind of allow yourself to spend in the gap, the more you get to open into and elevate up through and to the version of you that is already experiencing that new world, that new earth, that new Eden. So your own. Quiet the noise. That's the other big one. And whatever does it for you. I love meditating. I think it's very valuable. I feel like the more we teach our kids really young how to do it, the easier, then it'll just be a thing. That's a thing that everybody does and everybody knows how to do. But as those of us who are older are remembering that this is an access point for us, it's going to take different ways to get us there. You can't meditate from a stressed state of thinking you suck at meditation. It's not gonna yield a whole lot except for more stress. So whatever it is that puts you in flow, whatever it is that lowers those cortisol levels, whatever it is. And for some, it could be that you're cycling, it can be that you're running, it can be you're listening to loud music, whatever it is that actually makes you still. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It only has to make sense to you. And this is where allowing yourself to be your own guru, this is where that is like, this is going to be the key, because there's someone else, multiple people, who probably work similarly to you and feel like, oh, I'm a failure at this because I don't know how to meditate. But the more people who step into like, well, I listen to like thrash metal, and it puts me right in a good place, man. There's more of you, you know what I mean? And so just normalize yourself for yourself so that that can be reflected back to you. Like it looks like different things, and that's okay. That's part of the fun. All of the colors, all of the different facets that we all have, that's part of why we're here. It's part of the fun. Like, what can we make? We very specifically chose, how and the when and the who and the trials and the challenge. Like, we chose all of this so that we could get to this point of mastery, and really start having fun. I turned 50 this year, and I always joke that like that first 50 years was like dress rehearsal. It was me like kind of gathering intel, thinking that I was like doing a thing, or this is who I am. And then I got to, March of this year, and I was like, oh, that was a big fat tech week. big fat rehearsal. And I feel like I'm just beginning now. When you step into this version of yourself, you start to feel excited. You start to get really clear, and you start to embody. And when you embody, you get that feedback of people showing you who you are, and the reflections are cool, in ways that, even like for myself, I won't have data for it, but someone else will say something and I'm like, oh, that's so, and I hadn't considered it, but I'm learning how to embody it. And so when that feedback comes back, that's new data. And that's the data that needs to overwrite the old narratives, the old self-talk. Like, this is our way forward. Yeah, and it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's just not. Airplane rules apply here. You put your oxygen mask on before you help someone else. This is where we are. And just be careful of what you're taking in. You know what I mean? It's like, you wouldn't sit in someone else's bathwater. Ew. So don't take in other people's nonsense. Curate your energy field, just like you would curate on whatever streaming, like Spotify or Apple Music, whatever you're using. You curate kind of what you listen to, so that the algorithm can give you more of what you want. It's practice for manifesting. Curate it. It's very, very important. We're very, very powerful creators, and we're meant to step into that, and we're meant to step into it together. We all came in here with different gifts, and when they come together in their unique ways, the capacity for just amazing leaps and strides in our evolution as a humanity, collective consciousness, and sharing that with the earth resonance is going to be cool. It's going to be really, really cool. So be your own guru. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. And like I said, I'll put this transcript on my Substack, and I will put the if it lets me, I will put the I'll put the actual channel recording up too. So yeah, have a beautiful month. This month is cool. It's a prologue. It is kind of like, let's get ourselves grounded in these new energies. Let's practice them. Let's establish the new routines. Let's really listen to the inner guru. Let's really be guided by what our body is telling us, what our heart is telling us, what our gut is telling us, what our intuition is telling us, and then use the intellect to create the lists and the practices and the routines that support what this intelligence is offering up as our new base frequency and our homeostasis of operations moving forward. Yeah, so have a beautiful month. I will see you probably next month. Yeah, so have a beautiful holiday if I don't pop on here before then, and get excited. 2026 is going to be exciting. Yeah, get excited. All right, I love you guys.